All right, Shalom, Shalom, Koholo Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem Rakakwadash. Yahweh is the true name of God in the Hebrew tongue. Bahashem means in the name of, and Yahushai is the true name of the Son of the Most High, and Rakakwadash is the Holy Spirit. And double honors to the elders and the apostles of GMS, and Shalom to the hopeful elect. We are the real true Hebrew Israelites according to the Bible, the so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. And of course, you may not look like the typical Israelite, but if this truth, if this word resonates with you, then you're indeed an Israelite. So I'm back with another lesson. And in this lesson, it's just going to be centered around, even more prophecies because as the scripture talks about, our salvation is nearer than when we believed. Let me get that real quick. Romans chapter 13, verse 11. And it reads, and that knowing the time, that now it is a high time to awake out of sleep, for now is our salvation nearer than when we believed. And, us as the Israelites, till this day, the prophet Baruch spoke about it, that we are yet this day in our captivity. Spelled that right? Okay, I'll have to get it from here. Just real quick. Yet this day captivity, because when the Lord brought us as slaves over here in these lands, we wasn't brought here to prosper. That's why as this kingdom goes down, that's profitable for us. In this world, people prioritize, putting the bag or the money first, make your investments. But, upon coming to the realization of the scriptures, you will learn or find out that the greatest investment is investing in this truth, because people invest with the hopes that they're going to be wealthy. But man, there's no greater investment than being of the elect, which really and truly, you can't really do nothing to invest. You have to be predestinated. But let me read this scripture real quick. Okay, Baruch chapter 3, verse 8. It reads, behold, we are yet this day in our captivity, where thou hast scattered us for reproach and a curse, and to be subject to payments. You see that? According to all the iniquities of our fathers, which departed from the Lord our power. So we are yet this day in our captivity, but this is why we need these things to happen, so we can be free, no longer subject to payments, no longer catching hell. And, on the topic of payments or, finances, there's been this recent news. I'll just play this video and then get the scriptures out. It's very important. Listen carefully. I'll play this now.
But interesting enough, Kenya's president, William Ruto, has advised Kenyans to basically reconsider holding U.S. dollars as they are likely to lose value in a couple of weeks.
For the people who work numbers, I am giving you free advice that those of you who are holding dollars, you surely might go into losses. You better do what you must do, because this market is going to be different in a couple of weeks.
This announcement came just days after the China and Russia summit in Moscow came to an end, and on the heels of the banking contagion that has now stretched towards Europe. It came just days after the China and Russia summit in Moscow came to an end. And
so you heard them. It came days after the China and Russia had their meeting, which I have that queued up, where they was talking about a peace. They were trying to talk about peace, but they came out to say there's no path to peace. And we know this is all biblical. I'll continue playing this video in a minute, but let me get this scripture out real quick. This is the book of Matthew chapter 24, verse 7. And you know what? Let's start from verse 6. Okay, it reads, and ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. We're already seeing it with Russia and Ukraine, but that's only going to intensify. But the scripture says, see that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. Because we know there's a chronological order to the prophecies. The CHIP has to be mandatory. There has to be Jacob's trouble where there's no food in shelves before the war comes. The elect have to fully wake up. Okay? So verse 7 reads, for nation shall rise against nation. And all of this is biblical. All of this is biblical. So it says, for nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. I remember there was an earthquake recently that killed 50,000 people. That was in Turkey. But then before that, you had one in Pakistan. So all of these things are happening, man. And look, verse 8 is important to read. All these are the beginning of sorrows. So, nation rising against nation. Russia and China came with these peace talk, but there was no peace. We'll read into this, but let's just play this video. Rethinking the Dollar will elaborate.
on the heels of the banking contagion that has now stretched towards Europe. There's rumors circulating that the de-dollarization action step has something to do with a strategic plan orchestrated by 140 plus nations called Operation Sandman. Allegedly, the goal is to put the US dollar to sleep by having all countries repudiate it on the same day and refuse to accept it for trade. This is all coming about due to the fact that the US government's overspending and weaponization and abuse of the privilege of having the world reserve currency might just be coming to an end. If countries reject the dollar, they would stop selling manufactured goods and raw materials unless paid in another currency. Due to the US economic shift to a service economy and businessmen have excited to export jobs overseas.
Yeah, I'll leave it at that. You know, the point was made, but let's read into this now. Okay, so no path to peace. 5 key takeaways from Xi and Putin's talks in Moscow, and I'll just skim read this. No meaning path, no meaningful path forward on Ukraine. Let's not read that part. New world order and alignment against the US. Let's read this. So it says experts say that China and Russia inclination to build their alignment against the US and the world order more suited to their own more autocratic agendas was driving the meeting, not interest in resolving the conflict in Ukraine. As Xi left Kremlin following a state dinner on Tuesday evening with Putin, his parting message reiterated his view that global power dynamics are shifting. And this is what he said. Together, we should push forward these changes that have not happened for 100 years. Take care, he said during a goodbye handshake with Putin, alluding to what Xi sees as an era where the West is fading and China is ascending. So we're seeing the nation rising against nation, literally. China ascending and US descending, you know. They're basically declaring war. But let's just read this top part as well. It says, Chinese leader Xi Jinping and Russia President Vladimir Putin have made a sweeping affirmation of their alignment across a host of issues and shared mistrust of the United States. Once more, nation rising against nation. In a lengthy statement following the talks between the two leaders in Moscow this week, the meeting, which took place under the shadow of Russia onslaught in Ukraine, left no question about Beijing's commitment to developing its rapport at Moscow, despite Putin's growing isolation on the global stage as its devastating war continues into its second year. So we can see that all these prophecies are being fulfilled. I had another scripture queued up. I wanted to get this as well because we're seeing this as well. So we're seeing the war. We're seeing that the MOTB is getting a step closer. People in the world. But also we're seeing the uproars of the people in the world spoken about in the book of Ezra. Okay, I'll get to the point. 2nd Ezra chapter 9 verse 3. It reads, therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes. Okay, we've seen this with Turkey recently, 50,000. And then even Pakistan like a couple of months ago. So there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world. And I wanted to get this with the earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world. Because you have flights in Germany. You have mega strikes where... So I read, mega strikes in Germany. Flights, trains, and buses cancelled during mass walkout on Monday. And this coming Monday. Or is it already happened? 27th of March. So I believe that's already gone past. I don't even know. Yeah, I believe it was this Monday gone past. But then as well, you have France protest. And you even got one in the UK as well. Let's just go into this. Hundreds of thousands to continue strikes and protest in France. So we're seeing the uproars of the people in the UK. Strike. There's an upcoming one over here in the UK. Where this one reads, more than 130,000 UK public servants to strike on 28th of April. So this is an upcoming strike. So once more, therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, then shall thou well understand that the Most High spake of these things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. For like all that is made in the world had a beginning and the end is manifest. So if you got a brand new car, that car is looking fresh. But after 9-10 years, you're going to see the end of that car manifest. Same way with this empire. It had its peak, but now we're seeing the end of it manifest. So even more good news, man, because we just want to get up out of here. We want a new heavens and a new earth wherein dwelleth righteousness. So, with that, I'm going to end this lesson off, and I hope it was an edifying lesson. Kohlo Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rakakwadash, Shalom.